Okay, so to get you guys through this, as a credit card statement, whenever you look at it, the first thing that you might hone in on is all of this right here. Now, these would be your monthly purchase summary, meaning that these are your new purchases. So if you were to add these up, the answer to that goes right there. So take a minute and type all those in, and let's see what we get for that blank. So when I type them in, I'm getting $354.28. Now, whenever you want to figure out the interest on the previous balance, it says right there the words previous balance. So we're taking this amount, and this is what we're putting into our formula. So 521.11 is going to be our P. 1 plus R to the T power. Now, we already talked about using 30 days for T, but how do we get the R? Well, the R comes from down here, daily percentage rate. The APR is 26.99. So what we have to do is, since that's annual, we have to divide it by 365 to get the daily rate. So when you do 26.99 divided by 365, you get 0.074, let's say. And I know you could have done 3.9, you could have done 0.07, but this is a percent. So when I go to put this into my formula, I still need to move the decimal twice, which means this is going to look like the following. Eraser. Come on, man, erase. So 0.00074. And some of y'all stopped at 0.007. That's fine. I went out to 7.4. Some of you did 7.39. It'll just change us by pennies on the dollar. But you're going to type that in. That's what's going in as your interest on the previous balance. 521.11. So go ahead and work on typing that in. And I'm getting 532.96. Now, if this is 532.96, I don't want that number here because this says how much interest, not the total amount. So I actually need to now subtract what the previous balance was to make that happen. So I'm getting $11.85. All right. And then for statement total balance, well, it's the previous plus the new plus the interest. So add those together and let's see what we get. And hopefully after you've added them all together, you are getting $887.24 or something close to that. All right, now after you have this, now you can finish or figure out your minimum payment, because your minimum payment is, if you read down here, guys, on your test, 9.5% of the statement total balance. That's the blank you just filled in. So we're going to take our total balance and multiply that by 9.5%. So in the calculator, you're doing 887.24 times it's 0.095. And that's going to be our minimum payment, 0.095. So I'm getting $84.29. Okay, now we move on down and we can start answering our questions. Okay, if this is the bill that comes this month and you pay it on time, which means no late charges, what's the new balance on the account if the bill comes or when the bill comes next month? Well, that's going to be the total balance that you had minus the minimum payment. So we're going to take that giant 887.24 and subtract the $84, what was it, and 29 cents. That's what's going to give you this number here, whatever it may be, and that is what you're going to start with for your beginning balance there, okay? Once you have your beginning balance here, we're going to run through this just like we did in class. I'm going to plug this number into my P. So it will be whatever the P is times 1 plus, we're using that same 0.00074 to the 30. That amount will go there. And you'll need to subtract these two to get how much interest was charged. And then which number do you use minimum payment for? Well, you're going to do the 0.095 as the multiplier to this number right here. Okay, so whatever this is, you multiply by 0.095, and then after you subtract, you're going to get into this column. Now, you can fix all this, hopefully, and that should get you a nice number here. And if you're doing it right, I need to look at what that nice number is. I don't have it with me, but you'll get something here. And then you can answer number 10. How much interest has the credit card company made off of you? Well, if you want just interest, then go to the interest charge catalog and add all of these up. And that's going to be your answer for number 10. All right, moving to the back side. Okay, so on this side, you're going to be utilizing the finance app that's inside of your calculator. So on this one, you basically need to go to Apps, Finance, and then the TMV Solver. And this is the screen that you're going to be looking at. And you have to know how to fill this stuff in. So you first of all have to know how many months there are in 3, 4, and 5 years. So please just multiply by 12 to get those three amounts. That is going to be your N, everybody. So you're going to check it for both 36, 48, and 60. So, for instance, if I want to check the 3-year, I'm going to put in a 36 there. The interest rate given to you up here, you enter it as a rate. The present value is how much the car cost, which I've given you as $8,500. And the PMT right now probably has a 0 because that's what we are going to solve for. Okay, so wait on that. We'll solve for that in a second. Future value, you want to pay it off. So it's a 0. And this is always 12. 12 months in a year, 12 payments in a year, 12 cycles in a year. That's what all that means. So to solve, you need to be on top of this. You probably had to enter a 0 or something initially. But when you're on top of this number, this is when you hit alpha enter. And alpha enter is going to give you your monthly payment. So that's what's going in this box right here. Okay, it should show up as a negative. Then you need to run it again when you change this to 48 and 60, and you'll get these values here. Now, number 11, the tax is 8%. We plan to pay this up front and not put them into the loan. So basically, y'all, I just needed to know, can you figure out 8% of the total cost of the car? That's all you had to do. And that's how you'll get that answer. Now, once we get down to 15, we've budgeted $250 a month. So which loan term will we take? You need to take whichever one is still under $250 but pays the car off the fastest. Let me say that again. It's got to be under $250, but it pays off the car the fastest. So you need to look at these and then make your decision. And based on that, whatever that monthly payment is, that's what you're going to be starting, that's what you're going to be using for the monthly payment made. So beginning balance, run this into the interest formula, which, by the way, do you know what your new rate will be? Well, the rate is 12.3% APR. So you need to go through and do the same thing we did on the other side. You need to find the daily percentage rate and then turn it into a decimal. That's what goes there. Okay? Ask a friend if you need help and run through that, and that's going to be the number here. And then we need to subtract from that whichever of these three that you're going to use for number 15. Okay, and you're going to subtract the same amount each time. And then once again, number 19, how much interest only did we pay in the first 3 months? Well, to figure out how much interest, you'll need to do a little more math to subtract these values here and then add up the difference. So hopefully that gets you going. Once you've practiced it, once you've fixed up your first test, you will be eligible to do a retake in class today. Hasta.